The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hi, good evening, and it's Christine Hart, Christine Joanna Hart Show, coming into you live from London, and I have just got back from the sunny, very hot, beautiful Isle of Wight, back to London. I thought I wouldn't be able to do a show, however, here I am doing a show. I have no guests this evening, so I will just be talking. God, I can feel a surge of, or sort of a decrease in energy as everybody turns off. I'm sorry for that. I did have somebody, a man called Giuseppe Capelli, lined up to talk about drinking ayahuasca, something I've been interested in for a long time. And he was due to come on, but he has now moved to next week. I've also got Simon Parks has agreed to come on, and I believe that will be the week after. But this week there has been no guest because I have been really busy with stuff, and I wanted to give my son a holiday before the end of the school holiday. So we got a boat, a catamaran, over to the Isle of Wight on Monday, and I'd never been there before, and it is just beautiful. I thought that, I don't know, I've never really considered it before. I have considered Jersey, but what went on there with the abuse of the children at the orphanage totally put me off, so I decided not to go. But I always thought Isle of Wight sounded pretty boring, although my friend Lisa Williams says how good it is. Some of you remember Lisa from one of my earlier shows. So I decided to go over there and see what it was like. So we took the train from London, and it's only 2 hours. I thought it would be a lot of hassle, but the train goes from either Waterloo or Clapham Junction. It takes you right down to Portsmouth Harbour, and then unbelievably the catamaran is waiting at the base of the train. So you hop on in London, 2 hours on the train, and it goes nice and slow. It's not, you know, one of those fast trains that you start thinking about trains crashing, and that experience that Tamsin Day Lewis had where she splattered her face against glass, and sort of your head hitting the head of the person in front of you, and you sit there feeling slightly nauseous while the train really sort of gives it some. It's a slow train, and it goes not painfully slow. It's about, I suppose, about 40 miles an hour, and it goes through some beautiful countryside. It's so relaxing, and it was fairly empty. And we got down to, my son and I got down to Portsmouth Harbour. That is the last stop on the train on that line. And then what happens, you get off, and it's the ferry, unbelievably, is just waiting there. It's not actually a ferry. If you're taking a car, I think it is, we have to go somewhere else. But at Portsmouth Harbour, they have something called a catamaran, which is a really beautiful boat, and it's only 10 quid, and you literally get off the train, and it's just about 3 minutes walk from getting off the train to getting on this boat. It's quite, I didn't think it would be like that. I thought it would be this massive palaver to get from the train station to the ferry port, and then that would be boring, walking through a boring ferry port, and I can't bear that kind of thing. But no, you just hop off the train, and then you hop straight onto the boat, literally. And it's a boat where you can sit outside and you can go onto upper deck, and they've got loads of seats, and so you can sit there in the open air. And it was really, really hot and sunny, and it was just really beautiful. And we sailed across, and it's not very far on the ferry. It took us 20 minutes 20 minutes on the ferry, and so we sailed over, and we had booked to stay in a hotel called the Priory Bay Hotel. And if you Google Priory Bay, it's a really, really beautiful stone building, and I think it's 15th century, and it's quite famous. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman stayed there. I believe Peter Madison stayed there. Kate and William, I think they had a couple of nights there, and it's just an amazing place. There's a swimming pool, and it's next to this 15th century stone barn, and as you go in, there's a beautiful kind of porch with carved out, I think at one point it was a monastery, and it's carved monks, I think, clutching crosses, and it's really, really old. It's beautiful, which I think was brought from Paris. And you go in the beautiful stone, massive kind of entrance, and once you get inside, they have, one of those big drawing rooms, and it reminds me of a smaller version of Stokesay. Stokesay House was featured in the film Atonement, and I fell in love with the house after watching the movie Atonement, and this is like a smaller version of that house in the film, which was Stokesay House. And the drawing room is just like the drawing room in the film Atonement. If you haven't seen it, really see it. It's fantastic. Keira Knightley stars in it, and she wears a long green dress. And so I brought a long green dress to go there, because I look chubbier than Keira Knightley in my green dress. But I wore a green dress because I always wanted to be screwed in the library by anyone, really. Didn't have to be the actor in the movie. She's the whole scene. I love that scene. She's pressed up against the books, and he's there, and they have that one kiss, and the kiss kind of lasts them forever, and they love each other across the miles. And then what happens? Oh yeah, they both die. She drowns, and he gets shot. So they both die, and then at the end you see all the life they could have had. Oh, it's so lovely. And there's flashbacks to that beautiful house. And I became so obsessed with that house. I actually tracked down the material they used for the curtains and bought it. And I tracked down the wallpaper, which is called Parrot Tulip. I tracked that down and bought that as well. And from that movie, which I actually saw 5 times. How sad is that? I saw it 5 times, and it was playing at our local movie theatre on the huge screen, and I sat there eating chocolates and watching it. I just thought it was just so beautiful. And the scene in the library, I love that. And of course, Ian McEwan, I read the book, and the book's kind of better, but the movie's fantastic, and most of it is down to that long green dress that she wears. So I brought my long green dress to go to the smaller version of Stokesay, which is Priory Bay. And there I was in my long green dress, busting out of it, looking a bit chubby, very chubby. Actually, I'll post a picture, very chubby. But never mind. I did try and lose weight before I went there, but that didn't work out somehow. So there I was at the hotel, and there's the piano, and it was totally beautiful. And there's an outdoor pool, and so I sat near the outdoor pool, did a couple of lengths. It was really freezing. I thought about chocolate cocktails, because in the movie Keira Knightley has a chocolate cocktail. So I thought, should I order a chocolate cocktail? But they didn't have one. So I had a brandy Alexander and sat by the pool with my brandy Alexander and did a few lengths and fantasized about being Keira Knightley. And then my son and I walked down to the bay, and there's an amazing little cove. It's kind of like a cove, but it's like kind of a long beach. And at one side there's a cove, and then the other side there's a cove, and there's kind of green, a lot of green foliage, green, beautiful trees hanging over. And I'll try and post a couple of pictures. There's a palm tree. It's a palm tree. Is it a palm tree? It looks like a palm tree. And this beach is fine sand, and the sea is lovely and warm. And it's just totally amazing. It was totally amazing. So I paddled and I laid there and sunbathed, and my son and I, he built sandcastles, and there was horses galloping by in the surf, and it was just an amazing place. And we only stayed for 4 days, but it was totally amazing. And we hired a car, and it was a soft top, and it was just so nice to just drive around. We drove around the Isle of Wight, and we explored, and we went down to the Needles, something called the Needles, at the far side of the island, which was kind of crap. And then we kind of drove around the bottom, and I was looking for this. Because actually I'd wanted to go to the Maldives, but we didn't have enough money to go to the Maldives. So I thought, well, okay, it will be the Isle of Wight. But I was hunting for a Maldives style beach, and I wasn't going to give up until I found one. So we were driving around hunting down, a beautiful beach, and we came across a National Trust beach, and it was called Compton, maybe just Compton. And you park up, and then basically you climb down some wooden, not very steep, some wooden stairs, and then you get to the sand, and the sand is black, which is quite unusual. And then we sort of hung out there and went for a swim in the sea, and there were surfers there, and that was quite cool. I love watching surfers surf. I really do find it cool. I wish I could surf, but I can't, but never mind. And so I watched the surfers, and it was really fun. And then what happened then? Then we got back in the car. It was a soft top, and I just felt as I was really having an amazing holiday. My son was having fun. I was having fun, and we bought some pink rock, and we both started eating the pink rock. And I just felt like, that I was just having this amazing seaside holiday that you dream of. So I really recommend going to the Isle of Wight, because it really is fun. It's cool. It's so much better than anything we've got in England. And so then we drove up from Compton Bay, and we went to an amazing Italian, and I did tell them I was going to go shout out on my radio show, called Michelangelo, and it's just on the seafront in Ryde, and it's really reasonable. And yet the cooking, they've just come over from Italy, and just amazing homemade Italian food, which was just gorgeous. And even the house red was gorgeous too. So we ate there nearly every night that we were there. My son was crazy for let's eat there. I know what I'm going to have tonight, and I'm going to have this. And just the food was to die for. And so that was it really. And where else did we go? There was a monastery there. There's actually a real life monastery. We didn't go there to the monastery. And where else did we go on the last day? Gosh, I'm trying to think. Oh, yes. We went to a beach called Shanklin Beach, which was also beautiful. It was really beautiful. And the seafront has all that old-fashioned rock, and the beach was really sandy, and the sea, you could swim. Loads of people were swimming out, and it was warm, and it's just what a really awesome place. And so we went back then to the Priory Bay Hotel, and it was all very lovely. There was chandeliers, and the pianist, and we sat on the garden, and it was just really amazing. And then what happened? Oh yes, we met the dog. The dog there is a lurcher. It looked more like an Irish wolfhound, but actually, it was a lurch. No, it was a lurcher called Whisper. That was it, Whisper. And Whisper was owned by the owner, called, what was his name? Oh yes, Andrew. And I spoke to Andrew because I was actually trying to get. I'd written last year something for the Sunday Express, which was about in these various hotels in London, around the countryside, Christmas time, and I hadn't done enough hotels. And they said, "We'll promise you it will go in next year. Just add another couple of hotels." So I thought, fantastic, Priory Bay. I'd rather earmarked it to be in this particular article. But unfortunately, after speaking to Andrew, he told me that I couldn't actually have it because it was closing. It was closing in September. So sadly, this beautiful hotel that I've been boasting about is going to close down. So you can't go there. So I know everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's that hotel?" And writing it down and running for a notepad and, "Oh yeah, I want to go there. I want to go there." And especially you Americans that are listening, thinking, "Yeah, I want to go there. It sounds fantastic. So much better than England." It is better than England, but you can't go there unless you manage to book the next couple of weeks because it is closing at the end of September. What? Oh, what? It's just so, I can't believe it. I said, "Yeah, I can't believe you're closing." He was like, "Yeah, we are." Oh my God. So yeah, so it wasn't going to be added in that piece. Now I don't know where I'll find to add in that piece because there aren't that many decent hotels in England and it has to be set in England. And I thought, oh, Isle of Wight is actually, it's just off, so it's okay. But there we are. It's just so beautiful and it would have sat nicely. And to write about somewhere like that is such a dream because it's just so beautiful because it writes itself. It's like a movie set. So there was Andrew standing there in this beautiful white shirt with the lurcher at his feet and glinting in the sunshine. He'd just gotten off his helicopter that landed on the helipad there, and I believe he was with other young. He was kind of in his 40s, a grey silver-haired fox, and he was showing these young men around the place. I assumed that they were his sons, but no, they were the estate agents that have come to put the house on the market. Sadly, he has been running at a loss, and he is now going to be bankrupt, I do believe, according to the taxi driver. And so that's it, really. It's so sad, but it's not really run in a very slick way. It's run in a kind of way like Faulty Towers kind of thing, and it is, a little bit slack, but it's just so beautiful, and you just feel like you're at home, so you don't really care that you haven't got a sort of Shangri-La experience. It's not the Shard, but you are having a lot of fun. My second experience, I had an amazing experience there, in that I met Mr. David Icke. Don't call him Icky. I was saying to myself, don't call him Icky. Don't call him Icky because I've called him that for ages. I always add on a E on the end, like Skypey, for instance. I call Skype Skypey because there's an E on the end. I thought with Mr. David Icke's name, because it's got two syllables, that you say Icky, but not. So I was introduced to him via a friend, and that was nice that we were able to meet, and he was really, really fascinating. We discussed various things, and mostly we discussed Draco reptilians, and he explained to me that they are the royalty of the reptilians. And I said, because I had seen them, I have memories of childhood experiences and seeing them and seeing these, men from my past shape shifting. And I said I felt ashamed of that because it sounds sort of mad. And the only other experience I had with a drac is with Bianchi, seeing that on the astral. And there's another experience recently. Oh yeah. Another experience where same thing, but it was an astral experience, and it does make you feel quite odd to have seen that, and to have seen the only time that I've seen an actual lizard-faced reptilian is when someone was remote viewing me, and I was alerted to that, because you have to be brain dead to not be alerted when someone's remote viewing you, and them back and looked at them, even though actually it was a different time that they were remote viewing me. It was a different time, but I traced her back and looked at her, and she was actually working for a reptilian, because I saw him beside her, and it was quite a handsome lizard-faced being. Had the typical yellow eyes with a black slit, and I thought I found the woman dirty for having for working for that creature, whatever she was doing, trying to connect with me. I'm sure they could have done it themselves, but there was something going on. But I just found her dirty. Perhaps I shouldn't say that, because Simon Parkes is coming on shortly, and he very much connects with the mantis race. I personally believe anything that isn't human and anything that isn't angelic is suspect, fallen, suspect demon. So I spoke to David about these things, and he said that that normal perception is just a very, very small perceptive range, and it's like a postage stamp, and that it's a shame that most people who call themselves normal cling onto that small little postage stamp, and everyone outside that doesn't cling onto that little range of perception can be called mad, and that to see these creatures is to be aware and just ultra perceptive. He put it much better. I'm obviously putting it in a crap way because I'm not him. He's famous for explaining all this. So you're getting my version of what he said, which obviously is the crap version, because I'm not very good at explaining this in a really clear way. He was really good at explaining it in a clear way, and all of a sudden, because I'd been talking to him about reptilians and my own experiences, and I started to think maybe he thought I was mad, and then I thought, well, he won't think I'm mad because he talks about them all the time. But you do feel a bit mad if you're talking to somebody about something that most people don't really acknowledge or recognize. And he explained that perception in such a way that I just felt super sane. So it was quite nice to meet him and sit there and talk about stuff like that and feel super sane, because most of the time you can't if you're talking to people. I know I do now have friends that do very much in that ballpark, but I often don't get the chance to speak to them face to face. It's, on Skype, and or Skype even. It's on Skype, and not, not face to face. It's nice to be face to face with people. I did get a chance. There was a conference on recently where I couldn't get down there, unfortunately, or I suppose I would have been with other people that I could have sat and spoken about it face to face. But not everybody, even people in the truth movement, not everybody has had the experience of coming face to face with other creatures with ET. So sometimes you do feel a bit of a crank, and you do like to keep it zipped about that kind of thing, because you can feel that you'd rather not share. You'd rather not share that. So that was a really nice experience to sit there with him and chew the fat. So that was that experience. It was really nice to meet someone like that. He's a really attractive man. He was nice. I have a picture taken with him, and he put his arm around me, and I thought, wow, heard he's single. No, but I realized then that I hadn't been sticking to my diet, so looked a bit too chubby. So I didn't hold out any hope there, but he was nice looking. He's a really good looking man. So that was that experience. And then what else did I do in the Isle of Wight? So we just toured around in the soft top, and gosh, where else did we go? Trying to think. There was a few churches there. We went to a place called Ventnor, and that was an amazing place. There was so many really, oh my gosh, so many big mansions that really almost looked like, some of it looked like you were in France, and the rest of it looked like you were in Hollywood. And it just, gosh, it was so beautiful. There was just looked like movie stars live there. I don't know how many famous people actually live on the island, but God, these houses, you could just stare at them for ages. And I just wanted to sit there and maybe paint them, or maybe write a novel about them. I think if one lived there on that island, gosh, I think if I lived there and I had a house there, that I would just write, and I would write maybe children's stories, or I'd write some screenplay, or I'd write a novel, and I would really work on my characters. And I really, I really thought, wouldn't it be nice to live there, or to be one of those people that have somewhere in London and then have somewhere like that you go to at weekends. Because lots of people actually, they actually commute, they actually live there, and they work in London, because let's face it, take them 2.5 hours to get home. Really, that is, I used to work in London Bridge and live in Hollington, and that used to take me 3 hours, 3 hours there, 3 hours back. So it's, yeah, I suppose perfectly reasonable, or for somebody to maybe have a studio flat or something, and then go back there at weekends. Yeah, so anyway, I came back to London, and I found myself all too soon pulling into Waterloo, and all too soon, did I go to Clapham Junction? No, then I had to hop on another train and get back to where I am at the moment. And it was really, it was awful. It was awful to pull my suitcase down the street and to be back home. Oh, I just started to get that really bad, fog of, oh, come back from holiday. Oh, feel a bit depressed now. Definitely felt depressed, actually. Not clinically depressed, just like, oh, back from holiday. And I thought, well, that's the kind of feeling that you get. And I tried to think what was the really good, best thing about it. And I couldn't really work it out. I just then got a flash of the stone at that Priory Bay Hotel. That it was something to do with hotel. There was a massive amount of beauty. Gosh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I do fall in love with places like that. I think I have fallen in love with it, sadly. Either that or it was David. Just joking. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was a hotel. And oh gosh, just totally beautiful. Then I feel bad that I haven't got 1.5 million, because if you had 1.5 million, that the houses around here are worth one. I'm renting, by the way, but the houses around here, had I bought ages ago, then I would have had that money and would have been able to sell up and go down there and buy that hotel and run a hotel. I can't see how it's difficult to run a hotel. Probably difficult to run a restaurant and get the food kind of thing going, but I don't think it would be hard to run a B&B style place, which that really should be. They don't really need to do the dinner thing. So, gosh, can't buy it. Feel bad about that. But I'm the kind of person that, goes to stay in places that are really amazing and then feel bad that I can't buy them. But that's silly, really. Years and years ago, there was a job for the News of the World where we were doing a surveillance on Kilroy Silk. And the features editor, I think it was the features at that time, said, asked me, he said, oh, how do we prove that Kilroy Silk is dating? Should we call it dating? I wasn't going to use the word dating. I was going to use just something else beginning with S. He was S ... his secretary. We found out about it. So the features editor, who is a bit of a dunce, said to me, oh, how do we prove it? And I said, well, what do you know? And he said, what do you know? I said, what do you know about where they meet? What bloody blah. And he said that, oh, he takes her to the Clevedon. And my ears pricked up because I'd heard of the Clevedon years ago. I think I'd seen a film, Scandal, and I'd seen it and thought, oh, if ever I get a chance, I'll go there. It's so beautiful in those beautiful places that I'm obsessed about, a bit like Stokesay House in Atonement. So I thought, want to go there. And so I said to the dunce-like features editor, I can't remember who it was actually, it was probably Jules Stenson, who had white hair even when he was 20. So actually, it wasn't Jules. I best not say it was Jules because he's the type that sort of takes offense. It was somebody else. And they said to me, oh, what do you think you should do? And I said, oh, I should go along undercover to Clevedon. I should stay there a week and see if he turns up. And he said to me, do you think so? I said, yeah, definitely. So he booked me into the Clevedon and... oh my God, it's just the most beautiful place. And at that time it was owned by Jenny Agutta. And of course, Kilroy Silk didn't turn up at all. Yeah, it was just really, really gorgeous, the pool. And Christine Keeler stayed there. I took a picture of myself with my legs wrapped around the stone fish on the outdoor swimming pool. Because I thought, Christine Keeler's a picture of her with a chair and she's sort of sitting with her legs apart with a chair in the middle. So I thought, I'll do that, but not with a chair. I'll do it with a stone fish. So there's a picture of me in a bikini sort of looking like I'm having sex with a stone fish. I thought it made me look like Christine Keeler. I just look really silly, like I'm sort of clutching my legs around this fish. I do look silly. I've still got the picture. I treasure the picture because it's like good times at the Clevedon, waiting for Kilroy Silk to come. If he didn't come, I got a bit of a telling off over suggesting that I stay there for a week, but never mind. And it was so awesome. They had these amazing jacuzzis underneath lemon groves, and that was all outdoors. But then they've got an indoor swimming pool, which is green marble, amazing. And we stayed in the Mountbatten suite. I stayed in the Mountbatten suite, and it was just historical, just haunted as well, completely haunted. I woke up in the middle of the night and had to go and ask the night manager, was it haunted? And he said, yes, it is haunted. That particular room is haunted, because I could just feel a presence. And it's just like they were sort of saying, oh, we've got you now. And so I had to sort of stay up all night with the light on. It was quite spooky. It was quite scary, actually, at the Priory Bay. I did have an odd feeling in the night. And I then asked them at the reception, was there a ghost? And it seems that there's a ghost. There was a ghost at Priory Bay. She's called the woman in blue, and she walked the corridors when she was alive, and she had a little dog. And one day she went walking to the seafront and never came back, but the dog came back. So some bright spark stuffed the dog, and the dog is there in reception. This really, really old, obviously stuffed spaniel. And then people that have stayed at the hotel have heard the ghost. They've heard the ghost speaking to them, which is kind of unusual, isn't it? But never mind. They've heard the ghost saying, "Where's my dog? Where's my dog? Where's my dog? Where's my dog?" And of course, the dog is stuffed. The dog is in reception stuffed. So I got quite paranoid, actually. I did sleep with the light the dimmer switch. I had the dimmer switch on because I thought, I don't really want to encounter the ghost. I didn't, but I did feel something. It did feel a bit weird there, actually. I had a bit of experience, but it was more an astral experience, but I won't bore everyone by sharing it. But that was weird. Sort of encountered a kind of a strange being, but that was in there, and I think it's due to the energy. The energy in the Isle of Wight is strange, but I find it energizing. Actually, coming back here, it's just really, really, really sort of horrible energy. Just feel like, I feel like I've descended into a crisp packet. I feel like my whole being, my head, has been stuffed into it, used, not even my crisp packet, but someone else's, a tramp's crisp packet, and I sort of descended into it, and someone sort of sealed the top over. Oh, back now. Oh, I really feel like horrible, like I want to put my head under the water and sort of, I really feel like coated in it. It's just not really a nice feeling. And when I was out, quite a few baths where I dunked myself down quite a lot, and I washed my hair a lot and just kind of kept washing and washing. The water is softer, and it's not got the we've got in London fluoride, I suppose, and all sorts of ides in the water, and it's hard. And when you wash yourself or have a bath, you get really, really dry. I have a bath and I come out, my skin is like parched, like you've had a bath in some kind of chemical or something. It's horrible. So then you have to put loads of cream on. But there, amazing. You have the bath and it's like soft water, and you don't even need to put any cream on. I did, but you don't need to. And so it's amazing. I kept cleaning myself, because when you have a bath in London, you don't actually feel clean. You just feel like dry or something, but there I just felt just so nice, and now I feel dirty again somehow. So it's really horrible to be back. It's really awful. And I just went to Marks and Spencer's, and I supposed to be starting a diet, but I bought some chocolate milkshake and I bought some Twix, and I just thought, I need a Twix to get over not being somewhere else, get over that I had to come around the corner to see Janie's house. She was there. She had a silly Mini there, parked there. So annoying. Something about the Mini that radiates smug. I might have a Mini, but I could afford a Porsche. It's kind of got that noise. And then her house, I can see it from the side, and it must have 5 extensions on it, so it must be worth about, I don't know, 4 million. And do I have to see that? First thing, when I turn into the road, I see that house, and then I go to my shack. Over the other side, my shack, where the windows look like shit, even though I scrubbed them, try and make them shiny, but there they are. And I came in, and just, the house is okay, but it's not really what I want. And it just really doesn't feel great to be back. really, it doesn't feel great. And even when I was out in the Isle of Wight, even I nipped in a Londis, and Londis, for anybody who doesn't know, are really, really depressing. It's like going back to the 70s. Those crappy little shops your mother used to take you in that had crappy little things like Nice biscuits and lemon puff biscuits and like real shit and sort of, frozen pancakes and just like crap, total working class crap. And I thought that I might care for a drink. So on the way back to the hotel from the restaurant, I stopped at this place, and it was a Londis, and I just, oh crap. And I went in and I came out and I just bought some things for the hotel. You don't want to bother them for milk because it's so expensive, and you don't want to, have anything. So you kind of creep in with your sort of Londis bag. And luckily there was a back way, and there was like a fire escape thing up to the room, which I went up there. Clutching my Londis bags, they didn't see it. I didn't want to come in a classy hotel, having them know that I was buying milk and things like that, rather than using their facilities or buying it off them. I always do that when I'm at hotels. I buy my own things. So I came out of the Londis and I was kind of like sitting in the car, and I thought to myself, God, normally if I was back where I lived, I wouldn't be seen dead one of those crappy little Londis shops, because they're just so depressing. You go in and you feel like hanging yourself when you come out, because you think, oh, is this what I've done with my life? I'm still going in these little crappy shops. I haven't become Sharon Stone and in a mansion somewhere. I don't really, still going in the Londis. And it didn't matter. Somehow it didn't really matter. I think it's a place over there where they don't seem to be snobby. It doesn't seem to matter what you've got, they're not focused on that. I don't know what they are focused on, actually. According to the locals, there's Satanism going on there. I don't know how it could be. They seem like a really, really nice bunch, but seemingly it's rife on the island. It didn't really seem like that. It seemed like Satanism would go on where I am, but not somewhere where there's loads of beauty. But I suppose you never know, but still. They did have some weird antique shops. I did go in an antique shop, and there was a beautiful Masonic chair. It was selling for £80, and it was just clearly kind of chair that you'd see Satan sitting in. It was a Masonic chair, and it was like curved and carved and had different badges on it. In the same shop, this woman had ancient, I don't know if it was ancient, it looked ancient, Egyptian stuff. I held it and I thought, will I buy that? And there's just something really nasty coming from it. And she said, are there any replicas? But I don't know. I said, did you buy them in Egypt? She said, in the replicas. But they look pretty, they didn't look like replicas, actually. They look like voodoo hoodoo stuff. And I just thought, no, I don't really want to buy something like that. And she had all kinds of weird stuff. I did actually buy a little carving of Michael squashing what looked like a Zazel. I did buy a carving, and it was beautiful. It's black. And it is probably smashed. I put it in the bottom of the suitcase, and the suitcase got a pretty good battering at Waterloo Station. So it's probably got one of its wings sort of breaking off. I'm not, I hope that when I unpack the suitcase, it's going to be intact because it's beautiful. But, I'm not hoping. I'm one of those people that don't really get things back home in one piece. And it did get slapped about quite a bit, actually. So that was my experience. I felt bad about moaning about Londis just then when people have been killed under rubble in Italy. The earthquake there, I know the death toll is rising, and what a horrible experience for the people that went through that. And I saw on the news that they have had, back through the decades, that they are a country that experiences experiences earthquakes. I had no idea that Italy had earthquakes constantly. I was out in LA when they had an earthquake, only a little one. It was just after a really big one. But I knew LA was somewhere for earthquakes, but not Italy. Not Italy. I mean, we don't have them here in the UK. And they're quite near, so why do they have them and we don't have them? I think they're built on some kind of according to a program I was watching last night. Right. So as I haven't got a guest and I really can't talk for 2 hours, I know it will upset Hawk, who is probably listening right now, but I really can't inflict myself on people for 2 hours. I don't think it's fair on listeners to talk on for 2 hours, because sometimes people listen for the first hour, they think, oh, I'll listen to the second hour in case I missed something, but I actually haven't got anything else to say, apart from how fantastic the Isle of Wight is, and gosh, how I wish I had money. And I feel bad wishing I had money when, there's so many people that haven't got food tonight, and I, of course, got dinner and a Twix. But it just feels bad to wish for money. But with money comes freedom, and with money comes being able to go wherever you want and not be really tied down. In the 3D, you really can be sort of trapped. I do feel trapped where I am here, even though I can move. I can move. I do have a son who has friends at the local school and enjoys the school. So it's not the local school, actually. It's where we used to live. It's a bit of a trick to go to, but I do that. I do drive him to school, and he doesn't want to move anywhere. So one is really, pretty much tied down. And I think if one had money, one could afford a private school, one could afford to go wherever one wanted, one could afford to buy hotels, and I think life becomes more free. Although I had a Catholic upbringing and was told money was the root of all evil, actually it is freeing to have it, because you then can have the freedom. And somebody sent me, a friend of mine, somebody's how rude of me, a friend of mine sent me a note, just a note, and when I got home, I read it. It was actually something I needed to see. And it was about freedom. And they were saying about how they downsized and went from having a lot of money and servants and living where they were living, in the country they were living, and had to, downsize. And she said that it's actually Olivia Makepeace, who has been on my show with James Bartley in the past. She actually said to me that with downsizing and with letting go of possessions, you have true freedom. And I thought, yes, that's right. Because as I walked down the road with my son, I said, God, people around here, they're tied to their houses. It's all about houses. And I was talking to a friend who lives locally, who said, oh, I'll never move out of here, because if I do, I'll never be able to get back in, and we will never sell our house, and it's all right for you, you're renting. And I think she was being bitchy. But people do get really, really attached to bricks and mortar. And I think to downsize and to just have few possessions, then you do have freedom, because really you can move around. You can move around, can't you? So there is that freedom. There's the freedom in not having possessions, and there is a freedom in that kind of, not too much poverty, but there is a freedom in not having possessions. So there's two types of freedom, but I think one has to really align oneself with the freedom where you have little few possessions, and you keep. She called it upgrading to having less possessions, which that's true. It is upgrading to true freedom. And so that is something I'm going to go off. I'm going to drink my milkshake, and I am going to think about tonight. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. I can feel Hawk, who owns Revolution Radio, thinking, surely she's not going to leave me a second hour with dead air. I'm sorry. I just can't talk for another whole hour without having a guest. I can't do that. So I'm going to end the show. I'm going to end the show now. And I am going to cook dinner. So, it's exciting. What a life. Not going to have lunch or Sylvester Stallone, but going to the gas cooker. It's all happening here. Wow. What a boring life. I actually thought at this age I would just be doing something more exciting. But I have to be grateful, and I really do have to pray. Thank you, God, for giving me a 4-day break in a nice place. Thank you for letting me meet interesting people, have interesting experiences, and help me to be grateful for having a roof over my head. And even though it does feel energetically like I'm in a crisp packet to be back here, at least I'm not on the street and I can provide for my child. I also have a roof. We have a roof. We have food. So I want to be grateful for that as well. So, thank you everyone for listening, and I will be back next week. I'll be back with the ex-MP Simon Parkes. I'll be listening. He is going to share something about Max Spear's death. I do believe he wanted to talk about that. He asked to talk about that. So, he's either on next week or the week after. And I also have Giuseppe Capelli talking about his experience with ayahuasca, what to expect if you feel like going and drinking ayahuasca. I think you can get it on the internet, or you can go out to Peru and you can sit there and you can drink it. If you're wondering what it is, go and watch the movie Wanderlust with Jennifer Aniston, because during the movie she drinks some, and they say that if you drink it, you come in contact with your higher self. I believe a few weeks ago when I did a show, again, I didn't have a guest, so I just did, I think I read something, and it was when Max, God rest his soul, when Max is supposed to come on, and I read something from Michael Harner's book, The Way of the Shaman, and that was he took ayahuasca and he started seeing Jacko everywhere. And the other, there was a man there who said to him, "Oh, you started seeing those guys? Yeah, they're there. You can just, you're able to see them." So it stretches your awareness. Okay, thank you for listening. Please join me next week, hopefully with Simon Parkes, where he'll be a guest. God bless. Thank you for listening.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.